Hey folks, welcome. Azure Cosmos DB Live TV. Mark Brown here. I'm joined by an old friend of mine, Mihail. How are you, sir?
Hi, Mark. Nice to meet you again. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here and to talk about Cosmos DB.
Well, I'm finally glad I get you on my show, or get to invite you to something. You've had me come and talk to your group of friends and community out there in Europe, and it's nice that I get to return the favor. Bring you on
Thank
here
you.
to talk about stuff. So yeah, it's been a long time. You coming to MVP Summit? Are you going to try, I guess, this year?
For sure. I'm very excited to come.
The hybrid thing. Yeah. Well, I'll try to see if I can make it. I've got some travel coming up, but it'd be nice to connect in person once again. It's been quite a number of years from there. So, hey, you're here to talk about building IoT solutions using Cosmos DB. And you're going to show off a couple of, well, at least one new thing that was announced, well, not too long ago, but new custom routing for IoT Hub to Cosmos. That's been a long time coming. I think we were talking to the Event Hubs team about that back when I first joined the team back in 2017 or something. So it's been like 5 years we've been talking about doing this. And then we kind of started and then stopped and started and stopped. And now we've got it out. It's in preview now, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Michael?
Exactly.
Yeah. So preview for that. And then some other great stuff as well. So you got that integration. You're going to show some integration with all the Power Apps stuff in there as well.
Yes.
So that's great. So great. I love this kind of show where we're showing bringing services together using Cosmos because frankly, that's how people use the service, right? Is you don't use a database by itself. You've got to have other things connected to it. So how do you compose these things and use them together to do something really fun and useful around it? So yeah, take us away. Walk us through what are we gonna see today here?
I have here main scenarios, and I will try to share some information, what is new and what is specific in our conversation. The first thing which we will discuss is exactly the custom routing and the new custom endpoints for IoT Hub, where it's possible directly to send messages to Cosmos DB. In the past, we needed to have custom integration. That means to use Azure Stream Analytics or Azure Functions or any kind of custom logic to make this connection. Now it is not needed. And now there is something very interesting. Cosmos DB is not just part of the data layer. Cosmos DB can be part of integration layer because we can have directly data into Cosmos DB and using after that changelog to trigger some additional logic for other applications. What additionally we will discuss here. It is very interesting how Power Platform can be used in IoT solutions. From a long time, we have samples where Power BI can be used for live dashboards. Again, not directly, because we still have no direct connection between IoT Hub and Power BI. But the most important is how to put business logic in IoT solutions. Probably many people know that we have very powerful tool for this in Power Platform, and this is Power Automate with Power Automate flows. It is possible to use directly Power Automate flows to get data from IoT Hub. It is possible now to use the default endpoint and to use IoT Hub as trigger for new messages. We can transform these messages and we can have output in different services, including Cosmos DB, Power BI, or any kind of specific storages. Additionally, we will discuss scenario where we can integrate Power Platform with one interesting feature from Office tools. This is Excel Online, and more important, we have here Office scripts. Office scripts are introduced 2 years ago. Office scripts are based on TypeScript, server-side tools for automation. So we can trigger logic and we can use Office scripts together with Power Platform to have complex scenario, also including IoT solutions. So probably this is the most important, which we would like to demonstrate here in this session.
So is TypeScripts or this new Office scripts? I guess this is the evolution of the old VB scripts integration that they used to have in the Office applications. Is that a fair assessment, or is it actually something quite different?
It is partially yes, but it is kind of different. VB script will continue to be supported for client automation. For server-side automation, where we have Power Platform as our main suite to have such kind of automation, we can add now logic which is included in server-side Office scripts.
Oh.
These Office scripts are implemented from a new way using TypeScript and Node.js, and really, for me, like person with a long development experience, I enjoy this approach. It is still important to have client-side automation, but for mass document processing, we can use Office scripts, and we can use it together with Cosmos DB.
Got it. So that's an important point you make there, Mihail, which is these new Office scripts are server side, not client side, and that's a big distinction there between those two things. And that's great to see that they're doing this sort of thing. That actually does represent quite an evolution, if you will, in the old model of doing that sort of thing. Yeah, that's good. Okay, cool. What's next?
Well, we will demonstrate several scenarios, more simple and more complex scenarios. We will start with integration between IoT Hub and Cosmos DB. This will be the first demo which I prepared, and for this demo, I will show several services. First, I already prepared IoT Hub instance. This IoT Hub instance will be used to have custom routing. Custom routing is supported from a long time. We have options in IoT Hub to have built-in endpoints. It is exactly what we will use with Power Automate, default endpoint for IoT Hub. And we have message routing. In message routing, we can create custom endpoints. I already prepared these endpoints. I prepared one endpoint for one type of messages and another point for another type of messages. And we will persist this data in different containers. To be more clear, where are our containers, I will demonstrate now our Cosmos DB account. We have several containers. We have one container for telemetry messages. This container actually is pretty simple with default settings. We have serverless Cosmos DB. Deployment is based on this approach, and our containers actually are also implemented using this concept. So we have one container for telemetry messages, one container for log messages, and we have additional containers for other scenarios, which I will demonstrate later in our demos. what additionally I want to show. I have sample generator. This generator is generating two types of messages which are actually log messages and messages which are telemetry messages. The difference is more for demo. We have one type of data for telemetry messages, and we have another type of messages for log messages. Actually, for log, we have more data. I will start our sample device generator, and we have these messages actually sent from our device simulator to IoT Hub.
I get a question around the connector there. So is there anything managing kind of back pressure on data flowing from IoT Hub into Cosmos? How is that driven? Or like how does IoT Hub just hammering the Cosmos endpoint? And if it does, how does it happen? What happens if it gets a 429? I'm guessing there's a retry there, but is there any way to do any back pressure or throttling on those things?
Actually, we can configure the routing in this way. When we have message routing and custom endpoints, if we add additional point, Cosmos DB, as you see, is in preview. I will add one will be Cosmos DB TV show, for example. We have just standard settings for account, database, for container.
Yeah.
We have here is interesting. We have option to use specific keys for partition key.
Yeah.
For such kind of scenario, we need to be prepared. My generator now does not support it, some of these formats, so I will disable it. About authentication, I'm using here key-based authentication, but it is possible to use also role-based access. And we have no additional options which we need to control. So it is something which is not controlled from our side. When we create such kind of endpoint,
maybe something that they're handling internally just to help.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Something I'll have to test within there, or I could just ask them, I guess, as well.
Yes, it is just something which is managed internally. So
got it. Okay.
I added routes where these messages need to be split. We have one route which is for telemetry messages, where actually sensor ID, which is property which I'm adding in a device simulator with specific value, will be rerouted to endpoint which is for telemetry point. Here we can change the endpoints. I initially prepared several different options with provisioned and with serverless collections. Let's put here serverless. Again, I really like it. And another one will be for log messages, where we have different type of data. Usually configuration of this routing is pretty simple, pretty easy and fast. Everyone can do it, no need to have some additional dependencies regarding to this. So we have this information. Our device simulator is sending information about telemetry and some identifiers for telemetry data and different additional data like temperature, speed, and some other metrics for log data. When we have this information sent to IoT Hub, it reroutes directly this data to our Cosmos DB. So you can see here in Cosmos DB actually information which is sent. Here is one specifics. By default, the body is with byte 64 encoded. So if we need to have this information from the body as JSON, we need to add one additional step here where to have decoding. It is possible to do it with function, with Power Automate, with logic apps. Just for now, these options are default options. We cannot control it. Still, this custom endpoint is in preview, so I don't know. Probably this can be changed and enriched with more options. But for now, the body of the message, if we have direct send to Cosmos DB, is in encode format.
I see. So you basically cannot deserialize into a strong type. You're basically just jamming.
Yes, but directly not. You need to add additional step, or if you prefer to have scenario where to keep this data encoded in Cosmos DB and to decode it in real time, it also is a valid scenario.
Got it. Okay.
So this is the first scenario. We have here, as you see, different format of messages. I will not go into details because of limitation of our time, but in general, you have all system properties, application properties, and by default, the message which is in the body is encoded. This is the first scenario, and it is probably the simplest one. I will try now to show the next scenario where...
Wait, can I ask a question? So wait, these other properties, though, where did they come from? That looks like it's coming out of IoT Hub. So can you specify an object, the shape, and its definition, or do you just get...
Part of properties are automatically generated. You know that part of properties comes from Cosmos DB. When you add
what about the rest of those? The system properties, is that generated from IoT Hub?
System properties actually can be also managed programmatically, but yes. And when we have, let's go back to my demo. Actually, when we have creation of messages, we can have several different properties here.
So you can specify. Okay, so that's what I was asking earlier. Can I don't just get like a bag of something out of a body property. I can specify.
Yes, you can specify here application properties, and IoT Hub add system properties addition.
Got it. Okay, makes sense.
So I would like to show you a little bit more complicated scenario where we will have messages from IoT Hub, which we will manage in Power Automate. Power Automate is the backbone of Power Platform regarding to data processing. And Power Automate use the same core like logic apps, but mostly it is oriented to customers, power users. It can be used from engineers with deep dev skills, but also with people who are mostly customers and understand data. What we have here, first, we need to have triggering of our flow. I already prepared flow to demonstrate from where it will be triggered. I will go back to our Azure Management Portal and will show you another IoT Hub. This IoT Hub again has default endpoint. We will use default endpoint, not specific one here. And what is interesting, when we have such kind of endpoint, this endpoint need to be changed a little bit to be possible to use the same connection for Power Automate. I will copy this endpoint. I will show it here, and we'll change the size because I want our attendees to see exactly details, even in this way. So we have this connection string. We need to remove entity path. Actually, we need to remove this part and to put this connection string into the trigger. I already did this. Here I created this flow with trigger, which is added from Power Automate palette. And actually, we have no need to change anything. Just we need to put application JSON here to be possible automatically to decode the body into JSON and to have not this specific case which you saw when we reroute messages directly from IoT Hub to Cosmos DB. Here, we need to consider one thing. We need to compose JSON from content of our message. If we try to parse JSON, we will be not able to have properties which are in the message body. We will receive only system and application messages. So this is one specific point here. We need to compose messages in this way. I even will show you how it needs to be done when we need to add some operation. Here, for manipulation of data, there is actually compose action. I will not add it again, just I'm showing what we can do. So to persist data into Cosmos DB, I'm using Cosmos DB connector. Cosmos DB connector works fairly good in Power Automate. I will demonstrate just for the session how it works. Cosmos DB, you see Cosmos DB has a lot of actions. What is specific here? For now, we have no triggers. So for now, directly from Cosmos DB, we cannot trigger Power Automate flow. We can do it in different way, but regarding to Power Platform, we are still expecting this feature. So create or update document is the action which need to be added. Again, I will not add it here. I added this action into try catch mostly because I did a lot of experiments. It is possible with specific element which is named scope in Power Automate flows to have kind of try catch and to manage different cases where you can have risk for data which is not expected. What we have here, when we use this action, we need to have already connected Cosmos DB. Connection is done pretty simple. You can add new connection from here. I already created this. We need to put into the body, if we want to have the whole body, we need to put here actually output of composing messages. In this way, exactly in this scenario, we have a situation where the whole body is used as new document. Other properties which are system are not interested. We can do it in different ways for different scenarios. What is interesting here, there is one option, is absurd. Is absurd is needed if we want to have add or update. If it is no, and we have document with the same identifier, we will receive a message for error. I will show, before to start the whole scenario, also into Cosmos DB, the third container. This container is exactly what we have regarding to this scenario. We have properties from the message body plus some additional message properties generated automatically from Cosmos DB. But we have no system properties and some other properties which in this scenario can be skipped. Again, this is just one of many possible scenarios. How we can demonstrate this scenario? We have here another device simulated application, device simulator like application. It is actually the same one, but with slight difference in properties. I have no differences in routing. Why? Because I want to show that we can also collect messages with different structure in Cosmos DB. One of the main mistakes for people who start to work with Cosmos DB and document systems is that they try to normalize NoSQL databases like SQL databases. In many scenarios, we can have documents with different structure in the same container and to have very optimized search and to be possible to have projection of different type of documents in simple and less cost way, using documents with different structure into the same container.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for raising that, because a lot of people still don't realize you could do that, right?
Yeah, I saw it many times.
NoSQL database, we don't enforce schema. That's all done by you and your app, your data model. So if it shares a partition key, go at it. So
yes, exactly. So we have a similar scenario regarding to device simulator, and we have from device simulator we are going to IoT Hub, which I already demonstrated. We are using default endpoint, no routing. Here, no custom routing, only the default one. All messages are going from default endpoint into the consumer. Where is our consumer? Our consumer, in this case, is Power Automate. And this is something which I really would like to demonstrate, because not often you can see IoT scenarios with Power Automate and Power Platform, but I see a lot of potential, especially for small and middle-sized like load IoT solutions, custom solutions for some organizations, internal solutions with up to several 100,000, even several millions messages per month, for example, to use Power Automate. So in Power Automate, we can have testing in this way, manually or automatically with some data, but I will show it in this way. And you will see now there is setting for trigger from Event Hub, because the trigger is the same for IoT Hub and Event Hub. We can configure number of messages, and if we have reached this number of messages created already into default endpoint of IoT Hub or Event Hub, actually this trigger is sending all these messages into the flow, and in the flow we have this processing. Yep. So you can see here the details. Well, we receive this data. This is the whole message. It is very good that we can see also the whole output, including encoding message and what we need, composing the message and output. In creation of document, into the creation of document, because I need only information which is in the body. So you see this information, and of course we have some properties which are mandatory for Cosmos DB. So using this scenario, we can persist data into Cosmos DB via Power Automate. Why it is important to have such kind of option? First, it is easy to make it. Second, you can encode the messages, you can enrich it, you can have with Visual Designer any kind of logic. You have no need to be even platform engineer to do this, because if we are using logic apps, we need to make it with experts who understand Azure. Here, you need to know how to create flows with Power Automate, and to have a little more about structure of IoT messages, which comes from IoT Hub. And that's everything. So let's now show in our container, we have data which is exactly in the same format which you saw in Power Automate. So this is the first scenario, but we have two more. I will demonstrate now a little bit different scenario, which is kind of IoT, but it is also mostly event-driven solution, and we can use it together with Office scripts. I will share first Power Automate flow, and after that I will explain additional details. This flow is a little bit more complex. We have here trigger when some documents, in our case Excel files, are changed in specific repository. In this case, to be even more customer oriented, it is OneDrive. It is not Azure Storage. Where is our document? We have it here. It is Excel spreadsheet. We can have more complex and more interesting logic, but in current scenario, when some document is changed, I'm parsing With condition component, this logic only to be related to one document, to be possible to control the scenario for the DIM. After that, I'm running Office script from my Power Automate flow. There is specific action to run these kind of scripts, and we are coming to one of the most interesting parts. What is Office script? I will not explain a lot here, just few words. Office script is a new type of server-side automation where, based on TypeScript and Node.js, we can process Office documents on server side in Azure. For now, it works only for Excel Online. Hopefully, in the future, it will be extended. Office scripts can be managed directly in Excel Online, or we can have integration with Visual Studio Code. Unfortunately, I had no time to make this integration, to demonstrate also with Visual Studio Code. Office scripts comes with all business and professional subscriptions for Office 365. That means everything except personal and home editions can support it, even for education. There are templates. You can extend templates. You can execute your scripts, see output, test it, and integrate it in Power Automate flows. Now, what is our scenario? Here is Excel document with some statuses for some tasks. It is not so interesting. I even will hide it now. When we change something in this document, we will trigger this flow where our script will parse information from here. It will send it like JSON to Power Automate in similar way like IoT Hub messages. So we can have pretty similar scenarios. Power Automate will store these messages into Cosmos DB and also will create email to recipient where these messages created, transformed in HTML format will be embedded into email message. So here I have no need of device simulator. I need to trigger it with changes into this Excel Online. But first, I will go back into Power Automate flow and will run it in test mode. So
this is kind of interesting, this scenario. So you're using a file to trigger this flow.
Exactly.
This is interesting because you don't have to write code. Well, you do have to write code, but you're basically using just changes to an Excel file to basically trigger some kind of workflow here, rather than using like a data generator like Bogus or something like that to do something similar to that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got to tell you, just looking at Excel and a bunch of script next to it is giving me like horrible flashbacks to my Oli automation days back in the 90s when you had to write this kind of stuff. Well, before they had VB script, there was Oli automation in C++, which was awful. And then of course Visual Basic DB script. Also, that was an interesting time as well, back around the 90s as well. And of course, it's been with us for ever since then. Question: so this is all Node.js. I'm guessing they locked down the compute environment where this stuff executes, so you can't like import just any old library you feel like out of.
It is not possible. Yes, thank you for the question. Actually, now everything with which you can do here is to copy paste code, but here we have access to Office Excel object model, but we cannot for now make copy paste of libraries. We can have some usage of scripts in the same account, and even we cannot share these scripts outside of our organization because of security reasons.
Can I make a REST API call out of this thing to say some other outside service to say if I want to enrich data?
Yes, we can. I have not prepared this scenario.
Oh, that's all right. You don't have to prove it. I'm just curious, like if I want to do something or interoperate with something outside of this environment, can I do it via just a simple REST call? Like that would be the only way I could think of you could actually do something is to send the data outside of this environment to some place where you can do something interesting and import any NPM library you want, and whatever. Use at your own risk, obviously, but this is like stored procedures in Cosmos. You can't import anything in there because it's running inside the service. We're not going to let just any old thing execute service side, right? So same principle here, it seems.
I had for one presentation this demo where I'm calling API of GitHub and send into GitHub some information or get some information. But again, we can do it in some of next sessions using Cosmos DB also. Today, unfortunately, I will be not able to present it.
No, that's okay. It's okay. It's just fun. I had that question, and it's fun talking about the possibilities there. So all good.
I will change several fields here. This is the main idea that we can trigger some changes. Each change here triggers new flow, and you will see now the following situation. What is doing this script? I intentionally make it a little bit slower for the demo purposes. We're getting, when this information is triggered, the whole content of the table. And for each record, I'm creating, using Cosmos DB, JSON document, which I'm inserting into Cosmos DB. And because we have several hundred or even more records, and I did it in a loop, it takes a little bit more time. You know that we can do it in different way, but this is the scenario. How it works, script, which is called, returns JSON as output. This output of the script, like return of the function, return value of the function, is parsed from parse JSON component. For parse JSON component to have schema, I just need in this script, when I create output, to get the output and to copy this output in design mode to one field which generates schema from here. After that, we have a loop having all items, because I'm creating a collection, and these items as JSON documents are stored into Cosmos DB. Here, because we have, I did several times, we have actually checked for update, and it takes, as I mentioned, a little bit more time in this scenario, but this is the scenario. It will finish probably after 1 minute. What we need to expect after this information is persist into Cosmos DB. This flow is creating HTML table, and this HTML table from the body of the JSON. That means we have all these table as HTML, and this table, actually looking in this way, is sent to specific recipients.
Yep.
It is a typical event-driven solution, and we can use it for notification in different scenarios.
Yep. I've seen these flows just like this before. This is a pretty common use case.
Yes. Going back into our solution, let's see. First, going here, where is actually our data? It is in another collection, XLS documents in another account. So I will show it now. We have here another account. Just to show different scenarios, this account is with provision throughput. It is not serverless. And here we have these XLS documents. Here you can see these statuses. My script is parsing the table, taking only part of columns. And from this content, after that, in Power Automate, we are creating separate JSON documents. So this is one scenario which is from one side IoT, but from another hand, it can be used for many different scenarios. And I really like that I can demonstrate here also Power Automate with Office scripts. This was the third scenario, and I have one more, the last one. The last one is related to usage of IoT solutions with Power BI, but in slightly different way. If you remember my initial slide, it is not possible for now to have direct output from IoT Hub into Power BI. We are using different options for this. We are using Azure Stream Analytics or some other functions, for example, like Azure Function, or again, it is possible Logic App or any kind of custom web service. But if you want to do this, and we are not developers, or at least we are not developers with experience on Azure, why not to do it with Power Automate? Power Automate can do this, and I have this scenario here in this flow. Again, we have a simulated device. I will show this after 1 minute probably. It sends to another IoT Hub messages. From IoT Hub, we are using again the default endpoint, which is the same like for event hubs. After that, I'm creating JSON, but I need after that to parse this JSON because I want to add data into dataset in Power BI. We can use this in both scenarios, live dashboards and also reports. For live dashboards, I need to have permanently running solution to have different values. I will demonstrate it now with historical data and data set which can be used for both live data and reports with historical data, but we'll demonstrate the second scenario. What I have another one sample application, which is, give me a second to find it, the third one. I think now I will show it. Yes. It is again with similar data like previous applications. I'm running it. Again, we have data related to vibration and speed and some other metrics for imaginary sensors. We are going back to IoT Hub to be possible. Give me a second. To be possible to, yes, to explain a little more details. I just will arrange it to get the third one. Apologize for the short delay. In this, yes, this is my third IoT Hub. Here we have nothing special. We have one device which I'm using for connection. We need to have device to create connection strings. And I have no specific custom routing. I have built-in endpoint, which already is used in my Power Automate flow. Going back to Power Automate, I will make a test. We have data from IoT Hub. Usually, this flow is triggered for several seconds. We have no need to wait a lot. And after that, I will show you already persisted data into Power BI dataset. Again, we have option to demonstrate end-to-end solutions, having some device, IoT Hub, Power BI for visualization, and just one simple flow on Power Automate to make data parsing with no development skills, just need to understand Power Automate. This is the most important into this scenario. Waiting a little bit more probably. And till we are waiting, I can meanwhile show you already persisted data in Power BI, and after that I will go back to show you finished flow. So we have data in one of our data sets, which is already prepared. This one we can create for this data set some report. In this report, we have some properties related to process time and in queue time. I will demonstrate it. We have vibration, this property which we need, and we can add additional properties. For example, the partitioning of the name of the or identifier of the partition of IoT Hub and some other things. And we are able, based on this scenario, to make after that complex dashboards. Our flow is already passed. You see here our message composing the JSON, parsing the information, and finally creation of data set records where we can get specific items from JSON because we parsed it on the third step. So this is the most important, which I wanted to demonstrate. 4 scenarios, 4 demos related to Power Platform and IoT solutions and Cosmos DB. Any other component which we have in Power Platform actually can be connected with Power Automate. For now, we have for Power Apps additional connector, which is in preview and we can try to get data directly from Cosmos DB, but the most used approach, where we have already reliable connectors, not in preview, is when Power Apps are connected to Power Automate. That means Power Apps are calling Power Automate flow, and the rest is demonstrated in this session of Cosmos DB TV.
Hey, this is it's fascinating, Mihail. You showed us a lot today. It's great to show off. This is the first time we've seen the IoT connector or the custom message routing for the IoT hubs, which is itself great. Like I said, that was a long time coming for that thing. I hope people get a chance to try that out and preview, and definitely give feedback to the Event Hubs team on that. And how they can make that better. I'm also fascinated, not seeing. I mean, this Office scripts thing, completely new to me, and probably to a lot of our viewers as well. Pretty interesting, powerful. I like the direction going there. It's really an interesting evolution for kind of the Office suite and having a server side component to be able to do these things, and then of course, all the Power App stuff and the ability to just glue these things together, either using no code or low code or a bunch of code, whichever you want. It seems like they kind of allow you to do that or come at it any way you want with that type of thing. But just the ability for that thing just to glue things together, it's always been a very powerful.
It is easy
feature. Yeah, and it's easy, right? It's not terribly complicated, and like I said, there's lots of good samples and examples for people out there, and to build all this stuff together. So, hey, Mihail, great having you on. Thanks for coming. I know it took us, what is it? We're February now. I think we started planning on this thing in like September last year, and then just whatever. It's life happens and holidays and all kinds of stuff. So, but we're glad we got you on finally. Good to see you again, and yeah, thanks for coming on. Great, thank you for showing us. This is just fantastic.
Thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure for me. One of my favorite topics, and I'm really glad that I can share part of my experience.
Yeah, great, definitely. Hey, folks, thanks for joining this week, and come check us out next week. Oh, let me go through the announcements here. So please come and check out our monthly Azure Cosmos DB user group, virtual online at meetup.com. And we do a monthly meetup where we have new guests showing off the latest and greatest cool new stuff that they're working on, aka MS/Cosmos DB user group. Lots of great episodes in the past. You can go. There's actually an episode where we talked a lot about the new Logic Apps connectors in there for Cosmos DB. I think we had that on. It's been almost, I can't remember how long ago it was. I think a year ago, but I think it may be less than that. But those are out and lots of great information there. You can watch myself and Justine on the team, who was the PM for that. So come find that episode, aka MS/Cosmos DB Live TV. You can search on YouTube for that episode and lots of others, and watch your heart's content. So that's it for us this week, folks. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.